Hey y'all, welcome back to Culture Cult. My name is Marie. I am the host of the show. And this is a podcast where we are on a mission to learn about every single country in this world. That way we can all become less ignorant. And welcome to season 5. Oh my God. Thank you guys for sticking around. I'm a full-time digital nomad. I'm also managing my business and all my clients and also trying to build this season. So it's taking me a minute, but we're here. We're here and we're queer. And so today, I actually recorded this a year ago, this episode, and it's with my friend Kim, who was on the Celebrating Black Culture episode number 5. She's fucking hilarious. If you haven't met Kim, you're going to have a good time. So this is supposed to be her travel story episode where she was supposed to come on, tell her travel story, but we ended up doing a deep dive about her culture and about where her family comes from, which is Guyana. And this episode made me realize we should just cover her country on the podcast because there's some good stories that come from there, but also because Guyana's a vibe. And also because I thought Guyana was Ghana. And I'm sure I'm like many, many people in this world who think that Guyana is Ghana. Ghana's in Africa, Guyana's in South America. And so we're going to cover her country. The first to start off this season, we're going to learn what is Guyana like? Is it considered a Caribbean culture or South American culture? What are the fucking parties like? Kim's going to tell us how freaking chaotic the markets are in Georgetown, how insanely beautiful the nature is in Guyana. And a little forewarning, we do talk about suicide in this episode if that is sensitive to you. But yeah, y'all are going to dig this episode. Kim is freaking hilarious. And after this episode, you can finally correct people who think Guyana and Ghana are the same country. Okay, with that said, y'all enjoy. So first of all, I have you here today so you can tell us about your heritage, that it's Guyana, right? Guyana, not Guyana.
Yeah. Guyana. So you can, there's a couple of different pronunciations. And after, I always grew up saying Guyana.
Oh, really? Okay. So
my parents, and I think people who actually live there will say Guyana.
Oh, Guyana. Okay.
But either pronunciation is acceptable.
Okay. So for everyone knows, Ghana is in Africa. Guyana.
Yeah. So
is in South America.
Often, yeah, exactly. It's definitely often confused with the African nation of Ghana. It is not Ghana. It is Guyana in South America. It's not French Guiana.
Oh.
This is because there's another country in South America that's called French Guiana. It's not that one. It used to be.
How did you know that?
Exactly. It used to be called British Guyana for a really long time, and I think that when we got independence, that's probably when they dropped the British from it.
Oh yeah, so drop that shit.
Guyana. Yeah, drop that
shit. And also, one of my questions was so yeah, you're in South America, but I heard that. Well, in your opinion, do y'all think you relate to be more South American or Caribbean? Because I heard y'all are pretty Caribbean too.
Yeah, so that's kind of I feel like Guyana is always the forgotten country because we're in limbo. So technically a Latin American country is in South and Central America, and then we separate out the Caribbean. Geographically, Guyana is South America, but culturally it is Caribbean.
Really?
And really, we say Caribbean as well. Just want to throw that out there. Yeah. I say both. I'm American too, so it is what it is. But Caribbean is the correct pronunciation.
Okay, because I say Pirates of the Caribbean.
So yeah, they actually got it right. Shout out to Disney for one thing that they did.
One thing. I say Caribbean. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's the correct way. People say Caribbean and whatever. It's not that deep.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And your parents, how the fuck did they end up in New York and then Atlanta?
So actually a lot of Guyanese people moved to move out, particularly in the the 60s through the 90s, right? So a lot of the major places that we go would be the US, the UK, and Canada.
Okay.
English speaking countries that are in the same hemisphere. I mean, that's really all it boils down to. So both of my parents actually met in New York City.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So that's how they met. And initially when they first were talking or whatever, my dad didn't let on that he was Guyanese because he has a really, really, really good American accent. My
Mm.
mom's accent is a lot thicker, and you just immediately know that she's foreign. But
Yeah.
my dad can mask really well. So when they first were talking, he was kind of pretending like he just knew a lot about her culture.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so she's like, "Oh wow, like this who's this
He's
guy? Like he knows
educated.
so much. He's so educated." And then turns out they're literally from like
Sneaky.
a mile away from each other.
I would
So,
definitely have like
yeah.
knew him. That's so funny. Yeah, but then they ended
And
up in Atlanta.
so we moved to Atlanta after 9/11. I mean, my parents were already discussing leaving New York because my mom just really doesn't like the cold.
Mm.
And New York City is just like a tough place to raise kids. So they were already considering moving. We had family in Maryland, in Silver Spring, Maryland, and we had family here in Atlanta. And at the time, in the early 2000s, Atlanta was the number one place for Black people
Mhm.
to make money. I mean, that was it. And my mom's like a very A-type, pragmatic type of person. So she was like, okay, I've already got family there. This is where we're
Okay,
going.
that makes
And so
sense.
that's how we ended up in Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so what is like a Guyanese party? Like let us in. Like if we've never been on one.
Oh
Like what's the
man.
vibe? What's
Ugh.
happening? Who are the aunties? You
I
know?
need you to know, like when I was writing my little notes to come on, that was one of the things that I just like Guyanese parties. Because I growing up here in Atlanta, like a white ass suburb, I would tell my friends like they'd be like, "Oh, you want to do this weekend, whatever." I'd be like, "Oh, sorry, I've got like a family party," and their immediate reaction would be like, "Oh, that sucks. I'm sorry," and I was like, "Oh." I'm excited about it. Like I'm looking forward to this. Memorial weekend is everything for us. Like
Oh
we
my
are looking
God.
forward to like Memorial Day happens and then the Tuesday after you're thinking about next year. Okay? So
Wow.
it was everything growing up. So I feel like the best way to describe like a Guyanese party for me would be from the perspective of a child
Okay.
versus perspective of an adult.
Okay.
So for us, we would, you come in, you take your shoes off, you come inside, you just are immediately bombarded with the like yummiest, delicious smells. Okay. All of the moms and the aunties are like in the kitchen, whipping it up. They're clapping roti, which is
Yes.
like the most delicious, butteriest, flakiest version of naan bread that
Oh,
you
okay.
could think of. Yeah, but it's like way thinner and it's flaky. So it's not
I would love
fluffy.
that.
But they make tons of different version of roti all over Asia.
Yeah.
And that just came over with us. Actually, I'm diverting, but I feel like this is an important part to note that 50% of the population of Guyana is actually Indian.
What? I did not
Yeah,
know that.
right,
Okay.
right. So we can circle back to that,
Yeah.
but that's why we have this bread.
Okay. Yum. I love any
So
food. I'm down.
so it's just delicious and they're working really hard. They're in the kitchen, grandma, granddad are in the dining table, kind of sitting down. Everyone's talking. They're drinking rum. El Dorado rum is like top rum in the whole world, and
Wow.
it's made in Guyana. So rum is like the national beverage for sure. And
Wow.
so
Heck yeah.
everyone's just drinking and having a good time. The kids were like upstairs in the room. We've got like three different TVs going, playing video games, and there's music happening. After we have dinner and everything, that's when like the dancing starts. So
Oh,
there's
fuck yeah.
no party without dancing. That's not a thing. If
Yeah.
there wasn't dancing, it wasn't a party.
Yeah.
That's that
Yeah,
simple.
exactly.
Like it's
That was
that
a hangout.
simple. Yeah, it's a hangout and that's fine, but it's
Yeah.
not a party. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so once everyone's full and I guess the adults are, feeling loose and stuff, then the dancing happens and we're dancing all the way to the break of dawn. Like
Oh
we
my
would
God.
leave these parties 4 o'clock in the morning.
What? I
We're
want to
leaving family parties. Like it's nuts. It's like it's the only other culture I feel like that goes this hard is like Mexicans.
Mexican. Jinx.
Yep.
I
love
dated a
that
Mexican.
they throw the fuck down.
They do.
Okay? They with their families till daybreak. Like, and that's how I grew up going to parties with my family, you
Yes.
know? And the adults are always like in the kitchen arguing about politics and nothing's taboo. There's no taboo conversation topic.
Oh, that's
Okay. Like,
interesting because that's very opposite from most, like, especially European families.
yes, there is nothing that is off limits. Like, if there's a boundary, it's being crossed. If there's something that you do, I'm serious, like
I
there's
feel like this is me.
like people are you're gonna put your foot in your mouth, but everybody else is too, and it's all love. So it's like you really
I love
can
that.
say whatever, be whatever. You can yell, you can fight, and you just suck your teeth and move on, like, and it's done.
Hey everyone, my name is Alexandria and I run a food blog called The Foreign Fork where I'm cooking one meal from every country in the world. You might remember me from the Culture Cult episode titled Travel Story Getting Cancelled by All of Australia, and that is a true story worth listening to if you haven't heard it yet. So if you haven't, go check out that episode. Today's Culture Cult episode is on Guyana, and so I'm very excited to talk about that because I wanted to tell you about my experience cooking one of the most popular Guyanese dishes for my blog. When I was cooking Guyana, I did a lot of research beforehand, and all of my research kept pointing me in one direction, which was to make pepper pot. Pepper pot is a Guyanese dish that is the pride and joy of the country. It's made by cooking a combination of beef and pork together with a really unique Guyanese ingredient called kasreep. Kasreep is this thick brown sauce, and it's made from cassava. The kind of cassava that's used to make kasreep is really bitter, and without being processed, it actually contains cyanide. The cassava is grated, and then the juices are squeezed out of it, which are then boiled with sugar, and the resulting product is this really thick, molassesy textured sauce that is this deep black color. And the color really threw me off at first, but it does make for a delicious flavor in the stew. I bought my kasreep from Amazon, which was the only place I was able to find it, but you can also find YouTube videos on how to make it at home if you're willing to risk the cyanide. Once you have your kasreep, it's time to get started. So to actually make the pepper pot, beef and pork are stewed together for a few hours in a pot alongside spicy peppers, cinnamon sticks, cloves, thyme, onion, garlic, celery, orange peels, kasreep, and more. Now, here's the thing that I really am excited to tell you about pepper pot, which is that it has a super unique quality because it's best when eaten a few days after making it. And the kasreep that's in the pepper pot acts as a natural preservative for the stew, meaning that you can continue to eat it long after a normal stew would have gone bad. So it's actually very common to leave the stew on the stove at room temperature for up to 2 weeks at a time. And all you need to do every day is reheat it to a boil for a few minutes every day to make sure that it stays good. Isn't that crazy? Pepper pot is a national dish for Guyana, and it was so fun to experiment with it and make it at home. I'm not an expert on Guyanese cuisine, but I did have so much fun learning about this unique dish. You can find my recipe on foreignfork.com or follow me at the Foreign Fork on Instagram or TikTok to see what other recipes I experiment with from around the world. Put some culture in your kitchen this week.
I love that. I want to be around that energy.
Oh my God, you would love it. They would love you too, because I know you like to get down.
I get
Like,
down.
you
I just
definitely
feel like not to cut this, but like I feel like growing up in Alabama and just being around it's like white people, and I'm just like, and I have like white in me, like I'm like Scottish and stuff, but I don't relate with it. I don't relate with
I
it.
feel
And then
you. I feel
whenever I
you.
get around black people, I'm like, I'm not black though. I genuinely, I'm not at all. But like I fucking just, I get it. Like
It's
they
a
get me, I get
vibe.
them. It's a vibe. I'm like, I'm loud. We're fun. But when I go to like white parties, I'm like, how are you?
And
Yes.
you're just like, oh yeah,
What school are you going
those
to?
finance reports. Yeah, like
Finance.
what? Why are you talking about this?
Yeah.
Like, turn up. What the
Turn-
fuck? No, I will say white people throw down at like a rave.
We
I
love
love
sports.
a rave. And sports, yes, yes, yes. Football, don't play. They do not play about that football in the South, honey. That is all day. No, it's not all day. It's all weekend. It literally starts on Thursday and ends on Tuesday. Like, it's just football.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have,
And I'm
everyone has
into
their
that
own
too.
throwdown, but like I feel like I would be able to walk
Yeah.
into a Guyanese party and I would just be like, whoop, right in.
You'd be totally fine. And that's like so the huge part of our culture too is just being open and
love
that sense of
that.
community. Like my mom talks about growing up and just having like all of the neighborhood kids, they all knew each other. They all would just come over. Like it was just free. I think also part of that is also just the time period too, because I feel like there are tons of Americans that describe that lifestyle as well. Like leave your front door open, like anyone can come on it, you know? And so I think that that is a huge part of it too. But I do really feel like Guyana still has some of that there.
Yeah.
You know?
No, for sure. And I was also like wondering, so like you're Caribbean American, were you sometimes like, well, I don't feel
Oh,
Black American?
that was my struggle. I feel like my entire life
Wow.
up until going to college. I never really, I mean, part of it was just like the neighborhood that I lived in, and then also being, you know, Dunwoody High, or Dunwoody High wasn't so much, but the elementary and the middle schools were straight up segregated. You know, they had the gifted program, which was like predominantly white, down to the general program, which was predominantly Black and Hispanic. And that's what it was. And my parents fought for me to be in the gifted program because I deserved to
Wow.
be in it. And so I grew up with all of the white kids and we were isolated from each other. Dunwoody is actually a very diverse high school, but everyone stuck to their own because we were separated from childhood.
Mm.
And so I had identity issues. I mean, I not only was it like I'm surrounded by all these white kids, I obviously am not white. Like I'm not even light skinned, bro. Like I'm not passing. Like, sorry. And like, but then it was just like I didn't fit in with the Black Americans either because they're like referencing these like movies and
Mm.
music, and I really didn't listen to that shit. Like that was not my experience. So it's like I'm coming home to this totally different household, and you know, like I never felt like I wasn't Black because I go to my family's parties and I'm Black. It was just like my version of Black was different,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt like it wasn't enough, like it wasn't Black enough. I went to college. I went to an HBCU, which is a historically Black college university, and I did my first 2 years there. And ultimately, I ended up transferring out, but that was just because honestly, the school was just way too small. It was like 5,000 students. It
Oh
felt like
shit.
high school, and I was
Wow.
just like, oh, I got to get out of here. I wanted to go to college and get lost. You
Yes.
know, I already was so anxious and like paranoid and depressed. Like, I needed to be on a big campus
Yes.
and be lost and stuff. And that was just not the experience. So that's why I transferred out. But I feel like the reason why I went there is because I finally got that like Black American aspect
Mm-hmm.
of my personality or myself that I didn't realize was there the whole time, you know? And like sitting in school like freshman year and everyone's doing their introductions and the icebreakers and stuff, and like having all these students be like, yeah, I like went to like a white high school and now I'm here at an HBCU, and I'm like, damn, like there's so many people who are just like me,
Yes.
and they were made fun of because the way they speak, and they like to watch fucking anime, and they like, and you know, and so there's this like whole other subset of Blackness that I had never been exposed to, and it was awesome. Like I was just like, damn. And it was right around the time when this was like blowing up on social media, and like it still is, but I feel like that 2013, like
Yeah.
2015 time period was really just like this big, beautiful Black like
Yes.
movement surge, and it was awesome because I was like at an
Yes.
HBCU like right there in it, and it was just like it was exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
So now I don't really have any like issues with that. I'm Black, I'm Guyanese, I'm
Mm-hmm.
American, I'm all of it. There's no monolith. Like
No, exactly. Because like even if you think you are something, you're probably been influenced or by many different cultures. And if you're even if you're
exactly.
like, oh, I'm from Ohio and I only see white people, it's like, but like, what are they watching? What are you listening to? It's
Exactly.
probably
There's
like
still
it's
so many
Latino,
different
it's probably
uh,
Black, like
right.
influence. We all have different influences.
So
And so
true.
I
So
love
true.
that.
the whole world is influenced by Black American culture. Like, let's not get it twisted, like it's in everyone.
No,
For sure.
I was thinking about that the other day. Is like, if you take out Black people from America, what would you have?
What's left? What is there?
You wouldn't even won the wars that you would have won because they used all Black people.
Dead ass, bro.
Like, we would have been nothing if you just think of that. And then you have just dry music. You have no jazz. You have no hip hop. You have no guitar.
No rock.
Maybe you might have guitar.
No
but
blues.
Not rock and roll. Not blues.
No. Yeah.
Oh,
like,
God. There goes and then humor, dry, no humor.
Dry.
You're not gonna be laughing anywhere. Like, just fucking. But I'm not kidding though. Like, I feel like
it's the truth.
No, I feel like I was probably funny-ish, but then I moved to Atlanta and I just got to hang out with people from all over the world, and I got to like pick and take little aspects of humors that I love. And
yes,
like,
that's what
I feel
love
like
about Atlanta.
Yeah, I feel like my humor is Black, and I love it. I
honestly don't disagree. Like, knowing you personally, I really don't disagree.
Yeah. That's why I feel like I can just walk into a Black party and I feel comfortable, and I feel like
just fine.
And I'm always maybe a little different to others, but I feel like living in Atlanta, that just you can pick up on all these different cultures. Like, but I also want to talk real quick. Have you been there a couple times or at all to Guyana?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is it like?
Actually. Oh man, that's such a good question. I mean, there's Georgetown, which is the city, but it's like a small town. The city feels like a small town. I mean, for starters, the population is like 750,000 is the entire population of the country. Like, it's a very small country. Like, it's not very populated. Everybody knows everybody. So you definitely have that small town vibe. There's things to do, like movies and malls and stuff like that. But there's like also a lot of like markets. There's like a really cool drive-through market, which
really?
Yes, and it's terrifying. Okay, because dude, no, it's terrifying because it's not scary in the sense of like I'm afraid for my life, but like my anxiety, like it's dude, like okay, yes, this is an English speaking country, but like you probably wouldn't be able to understand anything that anyone's saying. Like, they're calling, and then you're buying like fruits and vegetables, and people have so many different names for the same vegetable. And like, they call things something that we call something else. Like, it's one thing if they were to call it cilantro or coriander, like, that that's a different name for the same plant.
Yeah.
They call cilantro celery. So you're like going through this market, you're like in the car. And so last time we went, we had somewhat of a guide. He's my mom's best friend's son. So he was like taking us around and stuff. And he's like, all right, let's go to the market. Or let's go to the market.
Oh, I
and we're
love
like
that.
driving and we're like driving through like at a crawl, and we have to like shout out the window like what we want. And if you've ever met me, that like I'm friendly and like I like to talk, but like I'm not going to initiate a conversation. Like, I'm reserved until I know you. So like I'm not the like, oh, like let's walk up to these people and talk to them. And my brother is like an even more shy and quiet version of me. So we're like sitting, he's at the window, like the closest to the window. He like I can't even hear him speak when we're at home ourselves and we are like blood relatives. And I'm like, what are you saying? And so he's like trying to talk to these people, like they don't know what we're saying. Like, they're like selling everything by the pound. We're just trying to buy one fucking onion. They're like, you want a pound of onions? I'm like, we're only here for 2 days. I just want one onion. Like, it was too much.
And is everyone like crowding the car? Like, they're like, is that how it is?
You like drive through and there's individual stalls.
That's so cute.
So it is so cute. It is so dope. I would definitely recommend, like, I don't know, Keenan, I feel like he should have done the talking, but
yeah. But I just love how like people are yelling from the car, and you're like, no, one. They're like, a pound, 1 pound, and you're like, one.
just back and forth. Like
You
it
come
was
home with a bag of onions, no fruit.
It was traumatizing. Like they're like, get these foreigners out of here. Like
They're backing up the line. Let's go.
yeah, literally. But it's going like, just the fruit. Oh my gosh, fresh fruit. It's just peaceful. Like there's
Yes.
no time.
I
Time
love
is not
that.
a real thing in the Caribbean. And that's not an exaggeration. It's not real. Don't
Yeah.
expect things to start on time. If you expect things to start on time, you're a fool. Like you are a fool. And we do it all the time. Like we have to deprogram our Americanness when we get there because we're like, okay, this thing is at like 4 o'clock and it's like 5:30 and we're like, yo, we gotta go. Like, what are we
Holy
doing?
shit.
And we get there and it hasn't even started. Like this is like I'm telling you, like this is not an exaggeration. Like you would think like, oh yeah, like like 30 minutes give or take. Like even here in the US, like something might start like 15, 20 minutes late. Like no, dude. You're talking about hours.
A what?
Hours. Like if you're on time to something, you are 2 hours early.
Okay, so that is literally my ex-boyfriend. And maybe I just didn't understand him, but I think that's a Mexican thing too.
It's too hot
Yeah.
to be rushing. And that is my theory on why every place that's close to the equator, they move slow.
Yeah.
It's just too hot. Like slow down.
You gotta slow down.
You've got to slow down. It's way too hot. Like we were planning on doing like on the last trip we were planning to go next door to Suriname, which was like a Dutch colony. And there's a ferry to get there. And so I was just like asking my dad, like, oh, like what's the deal with the ferry? Like, just trying to plan in my head, like what the day's gonna look like, whatever. I'm like, yeah, so what's up with the ferry? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, like, we're gonna go get the ferry. Like, what time does it usually come? Like, how often does it run? Like, what are the details? And he just laughed. Like, he literally laughed in my face. And he was like, it just comes. Like it just comes. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you show up, you show up first thing in the morning, get your cooler, your lunch or whatever,
Holy
and you
shit.
sit and wait.
What?
I'm like, this is run by the government. Like, this isn't just a house party. Like, are you for real? Like, what? I'm like, aren't there like people who have jobs that like are
Right?
taking this ferry or like, you know what I mean? Like, there has to be like commerce going on, like the fishermen, like people are using this ferry like to get back and forth. Like, what? Just whatever. It just comes. Like,
just
what?
And I love how he's like, bring a snack, bring your dinner.
Yeah, bring lunch, bring a cooler, bring some beer. These people bring beer everywhere they go.
Honestly, I love this.
Everywhere they go, like there's a drink. Like,
I love that. I really feel like I've been wanting to go to the Caribbean so bad.
And it's so easy to travel to the Caribbean, like from the US. It really is. It's so much easier to get to than anywhere else. I mean, a lot of these places, Guyana is the same time zone. It's Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's easy peasy.
Yeah. And y'all's beaches, are they pretty? I bet they're pretty.
So Guyana doesn't really have like beach like that.
Okay.
There's a waterfront, but it's not really, it's like a little more rocky, I think, or at least just where I was in Georgetown. So it's more like rivers and stuff like that. They have like a couple of like man-made beaches, but it's not like, even though it is on the coast, it's not really like a swimmable nice coast. That's like the only bummer about it, because like the rest of the Caribbean's like so nice, like gorgeous sandy clear water and all this stuff. Like no, it's the Atlantic Ocean and it's not.
Yeah. Okay, but I did look it up and like I can't don't quote me, but it's like the number
though, but
it has like the number one most rivers or something.
Oh
like
my
that.
goodness. Yeah. So like some of the best fish, like most delicious fish biggest you'll ever have is there. I mean, for starters, like part of the Amazon rainforest is in Guyana. So there are parts of Guyana that are not untouched by human kind still to this day. And Guyana has always, the government has always, always, always prioritized preservation of the rainforest. So it's one of the few places where, like Brazil has, I feel like, has been chopped to bits. Unfortunately, Guyana still has a lot of that really, really lush stuff. And we do actually have a world monument there as well. It's called Kaitoura Falls, and it is the widest single drop waterfall in the world. It doesn't look real.
No,
Like
it
it
doesn't.
literally does not look
It
real.
looks like
It
it's
looks
from like
like
a video game or something. It's
like
not.
Narnia or some shit. Like
Yeah.
it's nuts. And it's only accessible via like small plane. So they do tours and stuff. We took a tour when we went in 2016,
Oh my
and it was
God.
absolutely breathtaking. You have to like get in this like tiny like 12 person plane. It was terrifying. And you're flying over the jungle, which is already just stunning. That could have been it. That could have been the trip right there. Like just flying over the jungle and then just land like that.
Like,
and I would have been so happy.
so good.
Like I'm done. Like that's it. I'm good. Like pack my bags back to America. Like we're flying, and then they just like turn a corner and there it is, and it's literally just like the angels are like singing, just massive, massive, massive. And they have tours and you can really just look right over it. And it does have
Wow.
actually a little bit of a dark past, a dark history,
Okay.
because a lot of people like historically will go over to the waterfalls and commit suicide.
Interesting.
So there's like I mentioned before, there's like a high Indian population in the country. Indians are actually the majority in Guyana, 50% of the population. And they're very strict about like, intermarrying. And so a lot of like young people who can't marry each other, who are in love, who are in their teens and early 20s will actually go up to the waterfall and end their lives. And so they've gotten a lot more strict about like restricting certain areas of the waterfall because of that.
You're telling me that people are jumping off that waterfall to kill themselves?
Yes, girl.
That waterfall?
That waterfall.
Oh my God. Listen, well, I'm not trying to promote suicide, but there's other ways. Like that is not the way.
I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts. And like, I don't know. I mean, part of me, okay, I know we're kind of like getting into like weird territory right now, but like part of me kind of understands it because it's so vast and so captivating. I feel like if you're already in that place, I could see how it would call to you even.
Oh,
It's just
interesting.
huge. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if you're already there, if you're already just like in that despair and in that, I could see how it could like actually be calling to
Yeah,
you
like to have the most
in a
dramatic
sense. Like
death ever.
yes, the drama. It's the drama. Guyanese people are so dramatic. Like literally the most over the top people. Seriously, like just it's like you need to chill. Like like so dramatic. So I feel like that is partly why, and it's like usually like really young people too. It's usually young
Wow.
people, but like Guyana actually the suicide rates are pretty high
Wow.
because it's such a small population.
Yeah, and then they're also like cutting half of you can only marry like this. You have like 3 people to choose from to marry, and your family's going to choose
Dude,
for you.
I'm like 100% certain that everyone there is inbred because there's no intermarrying, there's no mixing. Like the Indian people marry the Indian people. They stay within the Hindus and within the Muslims. I mean, if they're killing themselves because they can't marry a Muslim Indian, they're definitely not marrying the black people.
No,
Straight up.
Also, and I don't know if there's like a lot of people immigrating there too. It's not like there's a fresh crop of
Who's
Indian people
moving
coming.
there? Who is moving there?
Yeah,
Nobody. Nobody's even heard of it. They think it's in Africa. Like nobody's moving there. You're like even if you wanted to, you would just end up on the wrong flight. Like nobody's going there.
Yeah, and then you're like heartbroken because you can't marry your cousin. It's like guys.
And so
there's more people out there.
There's no intermarrying. That's why I like made a vow that I would never like date a Guyanese person because I legitimately think especially at both sides of my family.
That's
like
your cousin.
I legitimately feel like I'm related to everybody that's Guyanese.
Yeah, no, that's smart.
Not kidding.
That's smart.
I'm not kidding.
Even like in Alabama with like any Lebanese people, I'm like We're definitely cousins. It's not even an option. I did have my
Yeah.
last question for it before we jump into your travel story. Any music or movies that we should be watching or listening to? This Guyanese.
Oh man, there are some like absolutely insane, like think Nollywood Nigerian type movie, but
Yes.
like way shittier and like way like no budget whatsoever, like made in someone's backyard movies, like
I want
Chinese movies
that.
that are legitimately so funny. Like I have a very distinct memory of my like dad coming back from Guyana and like us watching these like over the top movies together in my parents' bedroom, and I'm sure they still have the DVDs. I'm definitely going to get some of the names because they're really funny.
Please.
As far as like music goes, soca, SOCA, soca music, that is the music. That's what we listen to when we party. We listen to reggae as well, Jamaican, just from anywhere in the Caribbean. That's going to be the vibe, but like specifically soca. We have what's his name? Eddie Grant. You know the guy who sings Electric Avenue?
Oh my God.
We're
What?
gonna walk down to He's Guyanese.
No way. Oh my God. That's like such a
Yeah.
fucking
He's
it's a killer
Guyanese.
song.
That's a classic. That's literally like everyone knows that song. He's Guyanese. Oh, okay. And this man, the ultimate
Okay.
like songbird of a generation, Gregory Isaacs.
Gregory Isaacs. Fuck
The
yes.
songbird of a generation. He is like a soca legend. He is a soca legend. Actually, he's so much of a legend that actually some of my American friends know him. And he's actually Jamaican.
Oh.
I just looked it up. He's Jamaican. Damn, I didn't know he was Jamaican this whole time. That's crazy.
Oh, so soca is literally Caribbean music.
Yeah.
Okay. So
It is. It's from all over the Caribbean.
You got Eddie Grant.
Eddie Grant is the legend. So he's like the big one.
But what is your travel story for today?
So,
if you have one?
I was actually going to talk about like the last time that I went to Guyana, since we're already talking about Guyana.
Yeah.
But I wanted to talk about it because it was the most chaotic trip that I've ever been on in my entire life.
I
Okay.
love it.
Like it was so chaotic. And it was not chaotic because we went to Guyana. Like listen to my travel itinerary. Okay. Just listen to this. It was nuts. So we started off in Atlanta. Every single flight to Guyana, you have to fly out of either Miami or New York. So we went from Atlanta to Miami. We stopped in Trinidad and Tobago to see my great aunt Lot. We stayed with her for like 2 days or 3 days. Then we flew into Guyana from there. From Guyana, Georgetown, Guyana, we flew up to New York City.
What?
And then drove back to Atlanta.
What? What?
Just the most ridiculous trip I've ever taken. So I'm gonna break it down for you. So we went to Trinidad first because my great aunt Ma is the last of the line. So she's the last one. She's the matriarch. She's in her 80s. And we just don't know when we're going to see her. And I really wanted her to meet my boyfriend because we're probably going to get married. And yeah, I just wanted her to meet him. And so we stayed with her for a couple of days, and we're in their like a tiny little cottage in Trinidad, super cute, but there is no air conditioning and it's hot as fuck, bro. Like, what the fuck, dude? I'm sorry, but what are y'all doing? Like, oh my God. Like we have
Especially in that
technology,
climate.
y'all. Come on. Like is it a money thing? We can raise the money. Like it was so hot. Like
let's organize together now.
I'm like, I have like 37 cousins. Like we can get the money so that Aunt Lot can have an AC in her house. This woman is 1,000,000 years old. Like, oh my God. But I guess they just get used to it. Like they're just used to it. And they sit out on the like veranda, which is like super breezy and gorgeous, like these beautiful, beautiful trees. And she has like a pet parrot that just like lives, comes and goes as he pleases. Like So sweet, so cute. And so we had a really nice time staying there.
Oh, the parrot.
That was my first time ever going to Trinidad. Tobago is actually the country where you can get all the beaches and stuff. So next time
Okay.
I go down, that's where I'm gonna go. From there, we went to Guyana because we had a family reunion.
Fun.
But once we decided, like, determined we were going to Guyana for this family reunion that we absolutely cannot miss, we realized that a concert that we had bought tickets for in 2019 was finally happening. That concert was Rage Against the Machine in
Oh,
Madison Square Garden.
oh.
Okay.
But
We bought those tickets in 2019. It got pushed back, the concert, like multiple times since then. So we're going. Like,
it's
that's
not.
it. Like,
That's it.
that's not up for debate. We're going. Like, happening. So we cut the family trip short. We were going to stay in Guyana for like 3 weeks, but
Wow.
we couldn't because we had to go to the concert. So we cut the family trip short. We went to the family reunion, cute, took some pictures and bounced and flew into JFK and stayed in New York City for like 3 days. We stayed in Brooklyn though for like 3 or 4 days. We went to the concert. Oh my God. It was the best concert I've ever been to in my entire
Really?
life. It was
Really?
totally sold out. And I've gone to so many
You
shows,
like
so
you're
many
like the concert queen.
girl, it was so good. Run the Jewels opened for them, and LP, one of the members of Run the Jewels, is like from New York, right?
Oh
So this
wow.
is
So
like
it's
his
like
moment. Like he's so excited to like play this sold out show. They sold out 5 days in
what?
Madison Square Garden.
Holy shit.
But it's Rage Against the Machine. They don't tour. This was a reunion tour. Like this was, and it was push back, push back, push back.
It-
The concert was incredible. And I'm really glad that we went because the lead singer of the band, he actually like snapped his femur or something
Whoa.
2 nights before. So he played the performance sitting down with his leg propped up on like
Holy
a speaker. They literally had to carry this man on and off stage. Like it was nuts. And it was amazing though. He crushed it. He killed it. It was awesome. It was like the best show I've ever seen. I mean, like just you can tell they're just professionals and they've been doing
Yes.
this for a really long time. So it's like any band that you've seen that has been around for like 20 years, they are on point with it, right? Like they're doing like the changes, like he's ripping off the guitar, tossing it,
Fuck.
catching another one in the next hand, like
What?
pyrotechnics, like just it was just amazing. And this guy's just like sitting down,
Yeah.
like rapping his little heart out, like
With his leg up.
and they ended up like canceling the rest of the tour after that
So y'all
because
literally got the like one of the last nights.
it was there were 2 more nights after that. That was it. And they
What?
canceled the rest of the tour because his doctor was like, dude, you cannot do this.
He like saw that on television. He's like,
He was
absolutely
like,
not.
"You're out of your mind. Like I told you to lay down. What are you? You're just playing concerts? Were you trying to go to Europe after this? Like, are you crazy? Like, you're 47 years old, dude. Like,
He's like doing Madison Square Garden.
and it was awesome. And I don't know. I guess I don't know. Joe and I guess we're just like we love to travel. We love adventure, and
Yes.
the flights to like out of New York are obviously so expensive, and it was just like already so expensive doing like a multi-city thing
Yes.
that we were like, honestly, we should just like rent a car and drive
Yeah.
back. Like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Let's do a road trip. Like, let's
Yes,
throw it
road
on there.
trip.
And like we made a couple of stops on the way, stopped in DC, stopped in Charlotte, and like finally made it home. So we went to I guess what, like 6 or 7 cities over 3 weeks, like 2 countries. Yeah, it
But
was nuts.
but what's crazy is people do that in Europe, but Europe is close together. You're like
Right.
talking about going from like Guyana to New York suddenly.
But we never left the time zone.
True. That's
Isn't that
very
crazy?
true.
Yeah.
I bet that drive was so beautiful too. I heard Virginia's gorgeous.
Yeah. Virginia is really pretty. I actually lived there for 2 years in college.
Oh, what? Okay. Oh, yeah. That's where
Yeah,
your
it is
college
pretty,
was.
but I'm not gonna lie, I have a personal disdain for the state. That's just me
Okay.
though.
Okay. Okay.
Too many bad things have happened to me there.
No, heard. I totally get that. It's like that you can't unwash that shit.
I'm
Like,
just like, no. West Virginia has some pretty mountains. So oddly enough, for me, I think West Virginia is my skip state.
okay, heard.
So we were just on a road trip, like recently, from Connecticut back to Detroit. And so but we stopped in Pittsburgh first. So on the way to Pittsburgh from Connecticut, you like kind of get a little like toe touch into West Virginia. And
Yeah.
I was like, well, I got to get out of the car if we're going to like stop here so I can like, say that I've been here before. So I can say that I've been, cross it off my list. And like we crossed the border and it was weird. It was weird. Like the vibes, like it was nuts. Like I don't know, maybe it was in my
No, it's not.
it wasn't in my head.
It's not.
It was not in my head. It was like it was nuts. We crossed the border and it was just like
the energy of the land,
like
or
the yeah, just the
Mhm.
energy of the land, like just the energy of the area was just giving like no race mixing.
Yep. Get out.
It was really telling me get out.
Yeah.
And so actually not even just Guyanese culture, in the Caribbean culture and Latin American culture, there is this like universal evil spirit called Jumbi. Jumbi. And it's spelled in different ways but it's like all across Latin America. Jumbi is a thing. I didn't even know that like other countries had Jumbi. I just knew about my parents like when you tell ghost stories, there's a Jumbi in Colombia. They're not even black. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I would expect it maybe in like other Caribbean countries, but like you're talking about other Latin American countries that don't even have the same history that we have, right? Like, you know what I mean? So they've got Jumbi like all across Latin America. So now I'm like kind of thinking like, is this actually real? Because who is this guy? Like, is this a real thing? Like in Spanish too? Like
Right?
nuts. So we get to West Virginia and the first like store or anything that we see is Gumby. Period. Thank
No
you.
fucking way.
No,
That's
I was
literally
like
walking to like a store. It says like haunted ass store, pretty much.
and I was just like, okay. And the first thing we said, what's Gumby? Because it's a G, right? So we're like, Gumby. And then I'm like, my mind starts racing. I'm like, Jumby. Okay, we keep driving. Don't see anything else. We see another Jumby store. We saw 3 like Gumby, whatever, gas station, whatever, convenience store, weird thing, 3 of them within like a mile radius. And I just was like, I told I was like, let me tell you something right now. If something happens to me and I die and I'm at a place called Jumby, my entire family is going to laugh. Like they're going to be like, what? This child going to the Jumby store? What does she expect? Like I'm telling, they will literally call me a fool. Because why are you even in this store? And I told him, I was like, I'm not getting out of the car.
I can't risk
We
it.
stopped, we got gas. I was like, I'm not getting out of the car. This is my state. This is my state. This is my one state. I'm not going. I'm not getting out of here. I was like, I'm never going back.
No.
Like, I'm never going back. I was like, Jumby's here. We're out.
Jumby, we gotta go.
It's not even spelled the same way, but I was like,
But also,
I'm not
you felt that
risking it.
energy before you saw Jumby. You felt
what I'm
it.
saying.
Because I'm very sensitive. I'm very sensitive to land.
We did feel the energy first, and that's really what made me sketch, because like
Yes.
I actually just got a little bit of a chill because we drove into the city and we're like, oh, we're in West Virginia. I was like, it's so pretty. And then I just like turned and I was like, I'm getting weird vibes. And then it was like Jumby. I was like, okay, we gotta get the fuck out of here. Like, this is not the place. Like,
I want to look into the history of it. I mean, it's like, because there's like been plantations throughout all of the South, but West Virginia was absolutely known for their cotton and tobacco.
Okay. Yes, there were plantations all over the South, but those places have also retained a high percentage of Black people. I feel like there are not a lot of Black people in West Virginia.
It's like, goes back to that Birmingham thing. It's like the pain of the place has not been succumbed by the life of it.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, there are Black people in Birmingham, downtown Birmingham, but they're not doing well.
Right.
They're not doing okay. So
I believe you. It's like Athens. It's like Athens, Georgia.
They're not doing okay. So it's not
they're
like
not. These are, you're 100%.
It's not like
right.
Atlanta where they're like, we have mansions and
thriving.
shit.
We're lit. We're good.
Yeah. Like it's like a comeback city, but like places like, I guess, like Birmingham, West Virginia, like look at even Detroit. Look at that Black city that's coming back up through its roots.
Right.
That's so. I definitely am so. You have to pay attention to that stuff.
Okay, so we kind of end this rest of the podcast like talking about this and just also chatting about our lives and how we're going to meet up in the world somewhere. But I did want to kind of talk about this right here, how there's certain places, I feel like in America, the energy is still weird. Like West Virginia, how Kim was feeling in West Virginia with the Jumpy story. And, I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, and I feel like the energy is still really heavy in the land there. Because I had this theory that if the place doesn't have like a bounce back, like it's full of life now and music and good vibes and good energy, that the land will still hang on to the negative energy. So I feel like Birmingham, I don't know. I feel like it's still really, the land really hangs on to that negative energy that's happened there with slavery and with the civil rights movement and everything. But then you have like cities like New Orleans and Nashville and kind of a little bit like Atlanta, where there's a lot of stuff happening in the modern times that kind of doesn't overlook it, but kind of brings more light to the place. So that's kind of what we were talking about. While places like Birmingham and West Virginia, there's still that heaviness in the land. I don't know. Do y'all agree? Like, I don't know where y'all are in the world. I don't know where you're listening from, but do you agree that sometimes you just show up to somewhere and you're like, why does this land feel so heavy? And I think like we should pay attention to that. Or not even just heavy. Sometimes you go somewhere and you're like, oh my God, I feel incredible here on this land. And there's something I wanted to talk to y'all about that is so cool. Now, I'm not into horoscopes. Let me repeat that. I'm not into horoscopes, except for this one thing that's really, really cool. It's called astrocartography. If you go to astrodentist.com, you can put in your birth date. And you got to know your birth time, and you can see on a huge map of where in the world your energy lines are. And like where, if you go over that energy line, a theme that will happen in your life. And it's kind of crazy. So the line that goes over California and near LA, the line says, I'm going to feel familial pressure in career. Holy shit. Yeah. I was like, didn't know what to do with my career in LA. And I took on a corporate job that made me actually lose money. Different story. And it said that I was going to have financial struggles. Now, that doesn't encompass my entire being in LA. I had the best time there. I had incredible friends, but I did struggle financially there. And I thought that was kind of interesting that the line went over there. And there's some other lines all over the world for me. There's a bunch of lines over Indonesia and Australia where I'm going next that are quite confronting emotionally. So that'll be interesting to find out. But y'all look up astrocartography and just like for funsies, like go and see where in the world like your energy lines are. And because I feel like that is true. There's energy in the land and we're all different. Maybe we tap into places that are differently. Again, not into horoscopes, but that's pretty cool if you look it up. So astrocartography, and I specifically use Astrodentist. And yeah, if you want to reach out to Kim, everything will be below. Her website is Kim Always Hungry. She's a chef and she has a food blog. And she also does this cool stuff with like weed and edibles. And she makes like cool, yummy edible salts you can put around your margaritas. Like, she's just brilliant. All of her info will be in the show notes if you want to check her out or say hey to Kim. Or if you have questions about Guyana, reach out to her. Oh my gosh. And to end today, I want to end shouting out Brazil. We got to shout you out. I mean, I don't have any people from Guyana listening yet. Boo. But I do have Brazilian listeners, and this is y'all's neighbor. I feel like Guyana is probably like your little cousin, and y'all share a jungle together. And I feel like y'all's cultures are quite different. I would be interested to hear about that, like your neighbors, but your country's huge and quite different, I'm sure. So in general, thank you, Brazil, for listening. It's a huge plus that you're listening. It's a huge compliment that you're listening. Everyone loves Brazil. So thank you so much. Obrigada. And okay, y'all, send this episode to someone who needs a good laugh, who you think like would really love to hear Kim, and maybe they think Guyana and Ghana are the same country, and maybe you can let them know. But overall, thank you guys so much for listening. Coming up, we have, after this episode, that's actually should already be published. After this episode, we actually have Kim's fucking mom on the podcast. And if you are a sucker for accents, this is going to be your episode. She has the most lovely Caribbean accent, like British English. It's beautiful. She's so funny. And she talks about, why she had to leave Guyana. Why do so many people leave Guyana and move to New York and places like that? We talk about all the best local experiences you can get in Guyana from her perspective. And we talk about some cryptids and ghost stories that she grew up on in Guyana, which is so fun. That's a lovely episode. I highly recommend it. And to end, we're going to listen to some freaking Guyanese artists because you can tell a place by its music. So y'all enjoy. Cheers, y'all. See you next time.
Electric Avenue. Rock it in the night. Take it higher. Electric Avenue. Rock it in Miami. Electric Avenue.